Welcome to Eureka Math. This is Module 4, Lesson 30, and we are still working with division today. And we're going to divide decimal dividends by non-unit decimal divisors. So this will be something like, here, a decimal dividend could be something like 2.4. And a non-unit decimal divisor could be something like 6/10. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do this today. And let's go to our Learn book. Okay, so it says rewrite the division expression as a fraction and divide. Okay, before we do this, let's go practice here. Okay, 2.4 divided by 0.06 divided by division can be thought of as a fraction, right? So we can actually rewrite this as 2.4, or 2 4/10, over 6/10, okay? And after we've done that, after we've converted that into a fraction, because division is fractions, 2 4/10 divided by 6/10, 2 4/10 divided by 6/10, it can be written the same way, all right? So once I have this here, I know that I can multiply any number by 1, right? And it doesn't change the value. So I'm going to divide by 1, but instead of dividing by 1 as it is, I'm going to divide by 10 over 10, because 10 over 10 equals 1, right? Okay, so now let's try this. 2 4/10 times 10. Okay, do you remember? I'm going to slide up a little bit. Do you remember all the way back in Module 1 when we had our place value chart and we had our decimals and we had our tenths and our hundredths? Do you remember this all the way back in Module 1? Okay, you should be using it a lot, so I hope this isn't too far back in time for you. Okay, 2 4/10. So 2 decimal 4/10. And if I multiply that by 10, it just means that I move it over one spot. So my decimal stays here, and the 4 goes there, and the 2 goes there. Do you remember this, multiplying by tens? Okay, so this becomes 24. And here, 6/10 times 10 is 6. Okay, now as a division problem, 24 divided by 6, you should easily be able to solve that. I'm going to erase this so I can keep moving. Okay, 24 divided by 6. I can draw it here in the standard algorithm if you'd like, so you can see what that looks like. But you know that 6 times 4 is 24, 6 goes into 24 4 times, 4 goes into 24 6 times, so 24 divided by 6 equals 4, okay? So 2 4/10 divided by 6/10 equals 4, okay? So this is what we're doing today. So here's our decimal dividend right here, and our non-unit decimal divisor. That's right there, okay? And then we're going to come up with the answer of 4 for that one. Okay, now let's go back to our Learn book. Okay, name on your paper. Rewrite the division expression as a fraction and divide that. So that's just what we just did on the other page, okay? So I've written 2 7/10 divided by 3/10 as a fraction. 2 7/10 over 3/10. Okay, now I'm going to multiply by 1 because you know that 10 over 10 equals 1. Okay, it doesn't change the value, it just moves over that decimal for us. So 2 7/10 becomes 27, and 3/10 becomes 3. And then 27 divided by 3, which you can do some scratch work over here if you'd like, equals 9. Okay, there's our answer. Okay, that's exactly what we did on the other page. I just went through the steps with you. Here they've written the steps out for you. Okay, now let's try it, and be careful here. Now we have 3/100. So we have 2 spaces to the right of the decimal. So instead of multiplying by 10, we're going to multiply by 100. Okay, 100 over 100, which still equals 1, okay, because you can multiply any number by 1 and it stays the same. The value stays the same, right? So 27 times 100, and you know what? I'm going to erase this and I'm going to draw a little place value chart. Okay, here's my place value chart, and I'll just use that line right there. There's my decimal, okay? Right there's my decimal. And here's my tenths and my hundredths. And over here are my ones and my tens and my hundreds. Okay, so we're starting with, I'll change colors so you can see it a little bit easier. Okay, 2 and 7/10. And then we're going to multiply by 100, which means we're going to move over 2 spaces. So multiply by 100 moves it 2 spaces. Remember, 2 zeros, 2 spaces. And that's going to go there. Okay. And we're going to have 2 and 7. But guess what? The decimal's all the way over here, so we're going to have to add a 0. 270. Okay. So 270. And then if I were to erase this, and put my 300ths. Now I'm multiplying by 100, so it's going to move 2 spaces over. Okay, so 1, 2, and 1, 2. So now my new answer is just 3, and there's my decimal. If I want the 0 in front doesn't mean anything, right? And a 0 after that doesn't mean anything either. So I can just put 3. All right. Now, 270 divided by 3. Well, 3 goes into 27 9 times. Okay. 9 times 3 is 27, but I still have a 0, so drop that down. 3 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. Okay. And my answer is 90. Okay. If you can do this in your head, go ahead. I was just showing you what that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to stop drawing these little charts. If you need to draw the chart on the side to help you, do it. Awesome. So good to use those tools. But we're gonna move forward without me drawing in those extras. So here, 3 and 5/10 over 5/10. Okay. Now, what can I multiply that by to move the decimal over 1 space? Just 1 space. Well, if it's just 1 space, I can multiply it by 10 over 10, which doesn't change the value because 10 over 10 equals 1. Okay, now I have 3 and 5/10 times 10, which turns it into 35, and 5/10 times 10, which equals 5, and 35 over 5, right? 35 divided by 5 is 7, right? That's math facts, 3rd grade, right? And if you are still drawing your division over here because you don't have those math facts memorized, right? That's okay. You can use a little scrap paper there. But I don't need to see that work right there. You can just draw the 7. Got it. Okay. All right. Now we're moving. So this is the same problem almost, but instead of 5/10, it's 5/100. So I'm going to turn it into a fraction. 3 and 5/10 over 5/100. Okay, so now I have 2 decimals here. So I'm going to have to multiply by a number. Excuse me. Multiply by a number that's going to move that decimal over 2 places. So I'm going to multiply by 1, but I'm going to rewrite it as 100 over 100. Okay, and that's going to move that decimal space 2 places. So I'm going to have 300 and, well, now I have to move it twice, 1, 2, so that would be 350. And then this 1, 2 gets moved twice over 5. Are you seeing what I'm doing there? Okay, 3 and 5/10, and I just moved the decimal place 1, 2 spots, so I had to add a 0. And here I just moved it 1, 2 spots. Okay, so I had 350 over 5. And you can see that here too. I just moved it over 1 spot and 1 spot. Okay, that's my new decimal. All right, and that 1 spot is indicated by the zeros here, 2 zeros. Okay, so if you would rather use the place value chart, awesome. If you just want to move the decimal over, that's cool too. Okay, depends on how you think about things. This is how I think about them. It's just a little bit easier for me. But if you want to go back to the place value chart, again, how you get the answer is your own road as long as you show all of your work and how you did it. Okay, so 350 divided by 5, right? For those of you who still need to write out your long division, right, is 70, okay? So my answer is 70. All right, I think you're getting the hang of this. Let's go a little bit faster now. Okay, 4 2/10 divided by 7/10. Okay, and I have 1 decimal there that I'd like to move. So I'm going to multiply by 10 over 10. So my top answer now, the new numerator is going to be 42. And the denominator is going to be 7 because I moved that decimal over 1 spot. And here I moved it 1 spot. Okay. Now 42 divided by 7. 42 by 7 is 6, right? It's 42, math facts. All right, my answer is 6. If you can't do this in your head, please get out some flashcards or go play on Prodigy or get out your little brother or sister's 3rd grade flashcards and work on these math facts because this is something that you should just be able to do in your head by 5th grade, okay? And if you can't, then I need you to practice, okay? All right, 42 hundredths over 7 hundredths. I'm going to multiply that. I want it to move twice. I'm going to multiply it by 100. And 1, 2, right? Because I've got 1, 2 here, and then 1, 2, because I've got 2 here. And my new fraction is 42 over 7. Okay, look, boom, 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 same right there. Okay. Now be careful, watch those fractions, those decimals. Now up here in this one, they gave you 3 5/10, right? So these two questions were the same and they only changed the second number. But here they had 4 2/10 and they moved it to 42 hundredths, so be careful. Okay, be careful. All right, letter G. I should drink some more water before I start these videos. My throat is all dry. Okay, 10 8/10 over 9/10. Right? So I want to move the decimal 1 space. So I'm going to multiply by 10 over 10. Okay, my new answer is 108 over 9. Okay, so 108 divided by 9, that goes 1 time, 9, and that is going to give me 18 left over, and that goes 2 times. Okay, so my answer is 12. And here I've got 1, now be careful, this is 10 8/10. This is 1 800. So this is 1 800 over 900. I'm going to I want to move it twice. I'm going to multiply by 100. And that equals 108 over 9. Look at that, same problem, 12. Okay. Now look at this. It ended up in the same spot, but we started out with 2 different numbers when we started. Do you see how those numbers are the same? They just moved the decimal place over because the value is 12 for both. Okay, next one. Let's switch colors again. 3 6/10 over 1 2/10. I'm going to multiply, and I want to move it one space. I'm going to multiply it by 10 over 10. And that equals 36 over 12. And 12 goes into 36 3 times. Okay. Here I've got 36 hundredths over 12 hundredths. And I want to move that decimal place 2 times. Okay, so whatever I do to the top, I have to do the bottom. And my new answer is going to be 36 over 12. We already know the answer to that is 3. Okay, this is getting easier, right? Or you're catching on? Okay, 17 5/10 over 2 5/10. And I'm going to multiply that by 10 over 10. And that's going to give me 175 over 25. And I can do that in my head. Can you do that in your head? The answer is 7. But if you can't do this in your head, then we'll write it over here. Okay, 175 divided by 25. 25 goes into 17 0 times. How many times? Well, yeah. Because 25 goes into 104 times, and it goes into 75 3 times, so the answer would be 7. So 7 times 5 is 35, carry the 3. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 15, 16, 17. Okay, and my answer was 7. All right. Really, by 5th grade, you should be able to do that in your head. If you can't, we need to practice your math facts, okay? 1 75 hundredths over 25 hundredths. And I'm going to multiply that by 100 over 100. And that's going to give me 175 over 25, which we just said equals 7. Cool. All right, if this process is confusing to you, slow it down, go back and rewatch, okay? Or ask me in class. Number 2, 15 divided by 3 equals 5. Explain why it is true that 1 5/10 divided by 3 and 15 hundredths divided by 3 hundredths have the same quotient. Well, 15 divided by 3 equals 5, and 1 5/10 divided by 3/10 equals 5, and 15 hundredths divided by 3 hundredths equals 5. How is that true? Well, they're all the same value because all they did here was move the decimal one space, and here they moved it twice. And how did they do that? Well, they multiplied this one by 10 over 10, and they multiplied this one by 100 over 100. Okay, which is 1. It just moved the decimal, didn't change the value. Okay, and we talked a lot about that, the powers of 10. In fact, 2 would be just 10 squared, right? All right, explain why it is true and have the same quotient. Well, all 3 expressions this pen have the same value. The decimal places were just moved, right? And if you have a better way of explaining that or in your own words, go for it. Okay. Number 3, Mr. Volok buys 2 4/10 kilograms of sugar for his bakery. If he pours 2/10 of a kilogram of sugar into separate bags, how many bags of sugar can he make? Okay, so I'm just going to draw a little tape diagram because we've been using tape diagrams a lot, so I think some of you are probably thinking in that way. We want to see how many bags of 2 kilograms will fit into this. So we're going to divide 2 4/10 divided by 2/10, okay, equals what? Well, first of all, I'm going to draw that in, and I'm going to rewrite it as a fraction. 2 4/10 over 2/10. And I'm going to multiply that fraction by 10 over 10. The value doesn't change. 10 over 10 equals 1. You can multiply any number by 1 and it's still itself. But it does move the decimal point over, which is very convenient for us. Okay? And 24 divided by 2 equals 12. So up here, if I wanted to rewrite those in so you could see them, I would have 12, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, no, I drew too many. Okay. So each of those is 12, right? How many times does 2 kilograms or 2/10 of a kilogram go into 2 4/10 kilograms? 12 times. So how many bags of sugar can he make? 12 bags. Don't forget your labels. If he pours 4 kilograms of sugar into separate bags, so instead of 2, 4, right? This would equal 4/10. How many bags of sugar can he make? Well, if the bags are a little bit bigger, he's going to have half as many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags. And that's just logic, okay? Now, we have to show how we got that answer. So let's do this, okay? 2 4/10 divided by, now he's changed this number to 4/10. And I'm going to change that into a fraction. I'm going to multiply that fraction by 10. I'm going to have 24 divided by 4, which equals 6 bags. Okay? So you do have to show your work, but also we know that 2/10 is half of 4/10, so this would be half of that. That's just using your brain power without having to do the math, but I do want you to show the math, okay? Number 4, 2 wires, one 17.4 meters long and one 7.5 meters long, were cut into 3 meters long, or 3/10 of a meter long. How many pieces can be made from both wires? Okay, so we have this first wire, and we're going to cut that into 3/10 of a meter. And then we have this wire, and we're going to divide that into 3/10 of a meter. So here I have 17 4/10 over 3/10. And here I have 7 5/10 over 3/10. So here I'm going to multiply this number by 10 over 10, and my new fraction will be 174 divided by 3. And here I'm going to do the same thing. You get 75 divided by 3. Well, this one I can do in my head really quickly. It's 25. And 174 divided by 3, well, we can do some long division if that's easier for you. So 3 goes into 17 5 times. And that's going to give us 15. And then I have 2 left, and I'm going to bring down the 4. And 3 goes into 24 8 times. So here I have 58. Okay. How many such pieces can be made from both wires? Now we have to add them together. And 58 plus 25 is 13, carry the 1, 6, 7, 8. 83 pieces. Great. All right. Mr. Smith has, is this it? Yes. This is the last question. Mr. Smith has 15 6/10 pounds of oranges to pack for shipment. He can ship 2 4/10 pounds of oranges in a large box and 1 2 pounds in a small box. If he ships 5 large boxes, what is the minimum number of small boxes required to ship the rest of the oranges? So, okay, they're trying to trick us. They're not trying to trick us, but this is what he has total, right? That's the total amount of oranges. And he's going to fit 2 4/10 in these large boxes. So that's actually going to be 2 4/10 times 5. And you guys know how to multiply, right? 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Now I have 1 decimal here, so I'm going to move that there, okay? And if you want to do the same thing by multiplying by 10, you can do that too. Okay, so he can fit 12 pounds into those 5 large boxes. How many small boxes is he going to need for the rest? So let's subtract. Remember, when you add and subtract decimals, the decimals need to line up. 6 minus 0 is 6. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. So now he's got 3 6/10 pounds left. Okay? And he can get 1 2/10 pounds in a small box. So this is 3 6/10 pounds divided by 1 2/10 for each box. And I'm going to rewrite that as a fraction. And I'm going to multiply that fraction by 10 over 10 so that I can take out the decimal. And that's 3. So the answer here, 36 divided by 12 is 3 small boxes. So he's going to ship 5 large boxes and 3 small boxes. Great. All right. Not too tricky. We're just thinking about division as we're thinking about fractions as division and how we can get those fractions into we're going to moving over the decimal points. So if you have questions, please let me know. Let's look at your exit ticket. Okay, 4 easy questions. Careful, no story problems. So show your work, show just how we did it in the problem set. And then come back and you can finish your lesson 30 homework. Great, have a good day.